All right, Dave. So why don't you run us down on what you're doing on these new sights and just how you would apply your tape on them?
Well, on the new ULTIMA CPXⅡ, to put a tape on here for field archery, you know, for FIDA 50 meters and indoors, you're either just going to make a mark or you're going to use the scale side to write your numbers down. But when I put a tape on there, I get really particular about it. First thing I'm going to do is I'll take the factory supplied tape and I'll take it off, and I'll clean that, you know, with alcohol or acetone, something to get any residue off there. But when I put my tapes on, I like to print my tapes on plain white paper. A lot of people get really fancy with photo paper and waterproof paper and stuff. I use plain white paper because I go through a lot of tapes, but I'll cut it out and I'll make it thin. So I've got, you know, about a 1/2 millimeter clearance all the way around. And I put double-side sticky Scotch tape on one side, and I use that to stick it down, and then I seal over it with clear Scotch tape. So I've got kind of a sandwich of tapes, because what that does, not only, I got to stick it to it somehow, but putting the clear tape over it kind of waterproofs it, bulks it up, and even if water gets in there, it's not going to run the marks because I'll use a laser printer as well.
Or it's not going to slide either.
Yeah, and it's not going to slide around either because you've got a little thin edge, about a 1/2 mil edge all the way around that goes around the tape and kind of acts to seal it.
Right.
And a lot of times, sometimes you'll see, I've got probably 2 or 3 tapes stuck to my sight bar or to my bow limb because I'm like, I'll peel one off, like, well, that one's a little too slow today, or that one's a little too fast, or I've got one for yards, one for meters, and I'll just stick it down. And I'll have it indexed like where it needs to be, you know, for my bottom mark. I won't set it to the top mark because trying to stick it on there and push it all the way down. So it's like if 60 meters is my long mark, I'll set the needle in the middle of the travel, so I've got the maximum amount, which is really cool on the new sight. We've got a really nice needle that fits in a nice slot. There's no articulation to it. When you crack it loose, you can slide it up and down, and you've got a considerable amount of movement here. About 3 millimeters in each direction, a total of 6 millimeters of travel. What that means for anybody in like imperial measurements or yards, you got about 5 yards of movement either way on your needle. That's huge. Where before it was a little bit tighter than that, so where you stuck your tape was really critical. And for field archery, having all that needle adjustment, it's really big sometimes. You travel all over the world shooting in different rain, you know, warm weather, cold weather, high altitude, low altitude. It's always good to have that adjustability so you're not in a position where, oh man, I gotta peel this tape off, not ruin it, move it, stick it back down, hope it stays. But that's pretty much what I do. And then the justification of it, where you print your numbers on the left or the right, just depending on how you like to read it. But that's pretty much the basics of how I put a tape on my new ULTIMA CPX2s. That's pretty straightforward. So.
That's an excellent, man. I appreciate that.
No worries, dude.